This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the, I lost my paper already.
I didn't get it to you, that's why.
Oh. I have this all written down. I am lost. I should know this speech by heart. Okay, here we go. The time being 4:46 p.m., I'd like to call the October 29th, 2020 meeting of the Tilton Select Board to order. Before we get started, if you're participating by phone or the GoToMeeting platform, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you want to speak. Otherwise, background noise will interfere with the meeting. The Select Board is meeting at Town Hall and providing access via GoToMeeting and conference call to enable the public to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting. Additionally, there is an opportunity for the public to attend the meeting in person. However, in order to maintain social distancing, only 8 spaces are available and attendance is on a first-come, first-served basis. Once the maximum limit has been reached, anyone wishing to participate in the meeting will have to do so remotely. If anyone has a problem with remote access to the meeting, please email web@tiltonnh.org, which will be monitored during the meeting. Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First thing on the agenda are the minutes of October 22nd. Are there any changes or?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
page 1, next to last paragraph. Selectmen Fogg will provide info on what is used at Compass Classical Academy, not research and compare. And I believe when I sent the copy of the picture of the bottle to Jeannie, I think I carved in the board. I didn't give it to Gail.
well, I got a picture of it.
So I did the board and Jeannie.
Are there any other changes?
What, can you repeat that, Peter, what you
Yes.
said?
Cross out on the last sentence, next to last paragraph, research and compare with, and replace with provide information on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other corrections? I make a motion to approve the minutes of October 22nd, 2020 as corrected. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any debate? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The next thing up is the finance director. Yes.
All right. I'm going to take the mask off. Can you hear me all right, John?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So the selectmen here have 3 handouts, and John, you should have it in your email.
Okay.
The first one I'm going to go through is just an overview. It's essentially a PowerPoint overview of the budget. And keep in mind, this is the departmental request budget. So this is what the departments are requesting for contracts for 2021. So do you have it up, John?
Yep, just loading now. The overview account one.
So so we're looking at a 5.2% or 5.3% increase this year, or $271,758. over 2020. And this is excluding the sewer commission. And the reasons for this are primarily the new building costs, which I'll go through, utilities, bond, other items. And then also increases in New Hampshire retirement system employer costs. So those are probably the two largest items. You can see that we increased our headcount by one. We have one new full-time employee that we added. And as it relates to the new building, there's some changes here. So in 2020, for our construction loan, the interest on that was actually put into the operating budget. That's the way DRA says it has to work. So the interest on that construction loan was in the operating budget. So that comes out for 2021, but the bond goes in. And what I have loaded right now is the interest only on the bond. And there are many options that we'll talk about later, but basically you can either budget for an entire payment, interest and principal, or because of the timing of this, you can just do interest in 2021 and then full payment in 2022. And I would be in favor of doing that, considering we're going to have increased costs and the sort of stair steps the taxpayers into the expense of that. At the same time, when we realize the sale of the current police department, if that is sometime in 2021, we'll be able to have that money in the unassigned fund balance, and the Board of Selectmen could choose to offset the cost of the bond or the interest payment in 2021 or some portion of it, for 2021, 22, 23, maybe 100,000 each year to sort of lessen the cost increases there.
Will be our able to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really that's just it's more of a procedural thing on our end, just making a commitment that we're going to take, say, $350,000 of fund balance. Let's say it sold and closed for $350,000, or our proceeds are $350,000, and take that money and split it up over 3 years. You could take the unassigned fund balance and apply it to the tax rate in each of those 3 years, or some portion that is attributable to the bond. And it would really be more of a narrative at the town meeting to say, hey, we're taking what the police department was and applying it. Unfortunately, we can't, unless we make use of a warrant article, we can't take the proceeds of the building and apply it against the bond up front. At least.
So it has to be done year after year?
Well, the one exception to this is if the bond is through New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank, you cannot prepay those bonds. If we went with a bank, Northway, Franklin, Meredith Village, somebody else, and I'll give you an example. Belmont went with Northway Bank for their building, and one of the reasons was that there's no prepayment penalty, so they can pay that down at any point in the future if they wish to. So obviously, if you do that, you got to raise more money than what your payments are in order to do that. But you could then take the entire proceeds of the current police department and apply them to pay down some of that note. And we're looking at like a 4.4 million right now. That's what I'm sort of projecting based on the contingencies, both milestone and our contingency.
Tim, if we do interest only next year, doesn't that mean we end up paying one extra interest payment because we've done nothing to the principal? Pretty effectively.
It does push out.
And we're pushing it out onto the others, not the ones using it right off.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. I mean, it is a choice. And of course, it really depends what the economic environment is in the next year or two. There's still a lot of uncertainty. I don't know what to expect, and I'm still trying to figure out revenues. It just seemed as though doing something like that helps the townspeople, sort of step into that expense. But you're absolutely right. It pushes part of that down the road.
course, when we talk taxpayers, you're talking, we're about 20% of the total bill, probably. The school's the big nugget.
Right.
We're what, 25, so.
Yeah, right. No, absolutely. But in any case, so on this slide 3, so some of the items here that were affecting things, the utilities. So I've already discussed with you in a prior meeting, the estimate that came back from the engineers was basically 5 times what we're currently paying. This is the amount of the increase, $39,139. That's just the increase. That's not the total amount of electricity and heat expense. So everything in the building is LED. We do have more electrical equipment. It's just really hard to know what our experience is really going to be. I'm hoping that they're conservative, like most engineers often are, but we really won't know until we get in there. I talked about the bond payments a little bit. The janitorial costs, based on the size of the building, those look to be increasing by about $3,400 over what we're paying now.
So that's for PD only, this and that.
This is PD only increase, that's correct. And then what I'm going to go into a little bit later on is the telecommunication costs, and I've reviewed that with the board prior in terms of being able to afford fiber at the PD, which is in and of itself expensive, by incorporating the town hall and changing out our phone lines here and going, connecting our phones to the server at the PD, the phone server at the PD, we are able to offset the expense at the police department. So I'll go into that in a little more detail, but there's a certain amount of increase associated with that. We have reduced some lines in the police budget that pertain to building maintenance and that kind of thing. A question came up last night about, is there going to be overlap of utilities? And, unfortunately, I think it's going to be hard to avoid some overlap, but we're trying to make sure that the move happens in a very defined time frame, and that there be as little overlap as possible with something like that. No one I've spoken to anticipates that we're going to have some people working in this building and some people working in that building for any extended period of time.
I'm sorry, but is the issue of command being addressed with this? Because the command can't be out of touch. I know they have equipment that keeps station with the cars.
Right, so I've spoken to the chief about the timing as it relates particularly to the technology, because the furniture and some of the archival stuff, they've got over 40 filing cabinets, things like that, are not mission critical, but the dispatch, the servers, the telephone equipment, all those connections are. So we do have a plan by which I told them the worst case we'd be looking at is a day that we'd be down, and that is an overnight kind of day. So down at noon one day, back up in the afternoon the second day, and that we would be covered by phone out during that time. So that the chief said that shouldn't be a problem, and he's working on our backup for that type of thing. We'll still have the ability, to dispatch through Belknap any calls and that sort of. So, and then I also have, from the technology plan, I've got one of our vendors ready to box up a server and firewall, and that's going to be their sole mission, is to reset that up on the other end. A lot of the office PCs are going to be packed separately. They're going to be moved by the moving company and all marked, so they go into the appropriate offices. Dispatch will be totally separate. So dispatch and the servers and the mission critical stuff, that will all be handled by vendors, and we'll be doing that as quickly as we can. So hopefully same day, if all goes well. So on slide 4, you'll see some of these other cost items. So New Hampshire retirement, Now, keep in mind, this is not for a full year. The first half of the year is 11-17% for Group 1 employer share, and the second half of the year is 14.06%. So that's about a 25% increase in Group 1 retirement. Group 2 retirement is somewhere around a 19% increase from 28.43% to 33.88%. And again, this is starting July 1st. So those costs are loaded in this, and those amount to about $54,000 townwide. The town clerk tax collector increased her wage to 3%. All other merits, we've been discussing with Jeannie, we put in 2% this year, considering the size of the increase of the budget. And again, that's obviously based on award. On slide 5, there's an item that we're hoping to completely remove from the budget, which is for island maintenance. So this is the $17,000 pertaining to bridge repair. So we're hoping that there'll be a combination of fundraising efforts. Jeannie's committed to that, to offsetting the cost of that. But then also, I believe that if we take a warrant article to town meeting for our existing capital reserve fund for the island, if you were to go back to 2012 and read the description of that capital reserve, it pertains to a specific $30,000 project that was going to be shared with Northfield. So we really need to change the purpose of that so that it is more broadly applying to the care maintenance, repairs, what have you, of the island and the bridge to the island. And if we do that, then whatever we don't fundraise with, we could remove from the capital reserve fund, and therefore we could take that $17,000 out of the operating budget at town meeting.
Jeannie, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, we didn't get a chance tonight to look at this before we presented it to you, but I want to be clear, because you're using the word repairs, and this grant is for an assessment to determine what the repairs need to be, so I don't want to be misleading.
Right, yep, no, thank you. So in any event, but by changing that, changing the purpose of that fund, I think is something that should be done anyways, a housekeeping item. And as I said, if you go back and read it, really the original purpose can't even be seen through it now. So we're also looking in terms of cruisers, we're not making any changes to the fleet. The 18A, which is the last car that we purchased, will be paid off in the third quarter. We have, I believe there's 2 quarterly payments to make on that, 2 remaining quarterly payments. And then in the new year, and then also the police union. So there are no wages for the union in this budget as well. If there were to be a something coming from collective bargaining, it would be in war. We're also planning, if all holds for this year, 2020, we're also planning to put back in 2 of the encumbrances that we removed back in April, if you recall, the air conditioning and also the planned charrette were put on hold. So we would need to encumber those again. And right now we've got over $45,000 in the contingency line in the budget still sitting there. So the numbers at a glance. If you turn to this page, you can see where the changes are. And I can give you some highlights here. In administration, we had a reduction in our workers' comp insurance. So this is the net for that entire budget, where we had some increases in salaries and had increases in retirement and some changes in the medical plans. Town clerk tax collectors budget was nearly flat. There were some reductions because of election registration. In 2021, we only had 1 election, so compare that to 4 elections in 2020. So there's savings there, and we also saw some of those savings in election registration lines in the administrative budget. In finance, what you're seeing there is the reflection of the short-term interest that was budgeted for the construction loan being taken out. and a further small reduction in our TAN interest expense. Long-term debt, that is a combination of the 110,000 being added, and then just based on the current payment schedule for 2020 of the USDA refinanced debt that was the Lockmere Sewer project. In IT, the $3,160 represents three things. One is a small piece of software, about a $300 piece of software for one of the town departments, and also some of that $1,500 fiber expense monthly. That $1,500 over the course of the year for the fiber costs, and then some other annual maintenance for the new PD. In land use, this is primarily a combination of things. It's the expanded hours for the land use technician. And then also there's $500 in there for map updates within this budget as well. Actually, that may have been in the administrative budget, but nominal things in land use. They did add money for alternates for the planning board and zoning board, which were not in there before, which were not budgeted. In the police department, so what you see here is you see the effect of really the larger, yes.
Didn't we vote no to the alternates last year? Wasn't there a big thing, refresh my memory, wasn't there a big thing about alternates being paid and?
Oh, there's a discussion about alternates getting paid, and at the end of the day, I think you approved alternates.
We could,
And in fact, the Conservation Commission has two alternates that are paid. So
I think
this
you have a
was
total 3 that are paid now, right?
2 that I know of, and then there's one planned for planning and one planned for zoning. And there may be 3. I may, James probably right.
No, that third one dropped, well, but it's still there. So, yeah.
In the police budget, so the majority of this is related to what I've already covered, the utilities, New Hampshire retirement, and then the full year effect of the new officer that we added back in 2020. In public works, so we have a new employee in public works, but also the public works director, as you see when you go through the budget, he's actually reduced his salt and sand line by $10,000, anticipating that he's going to have less material required for some of the new road beds. So Cedar Street, Caleb Hill, and Littenden, and perhaps. So where these are new road beds that there's less salt required to break up ice that forms and crevices and that sort of thing. So I guess it's easier to plow, and so he's reduced that. He's also reduced his training line to take it, and he plans to take advantage of Primex training more and free training that's available throughout the state. And then he's also eliminated the zero turn, which was in last year's budget. And he said that if he absolutely has to purchase something, he would come to the selectmen and make a request of the equipment, highway equipment fund, capital reserve fund. In sanitation,
Let's go back.
and we can go through the, through
So
these detail budgets.
I see where he had some cost cutting measures.
Yes.
And yet the request is for 25.6. So is that all? I mean, why the increase?
It would be much larger were it not for the other decreases that we made, because we have a new employee full-time for the entire year.
All right, okay.
An extra employee now.
So it would have been more like a $50,000 or better increase there. So in sanitation, the majority of that increase is in our contracts with Bernard. And the Public Works Director and I are going to be meeting with Jeannie. We've reviewed the prior work I did on a pro forma town-based collection. I've reviewed that with Public Works Director, and then he's also gone out, he's done some homework. And then we need to make some decisions. Would there be any changes with the town to do this other than what we're doing now? Would we continue to recycle at the rate we're recycling now? Would we include glass? Would we exclude glass? We're not going to be able to maintain the same cost structure for recycling and disposal that we have through our Bernard contract, where we could do it ourselves. So there's some big decisions that would have to be made in terms of what the framework looks like for that. At the same time, we've also been contacted by other companies interested in knowing that the Bernard contract is coming to an end next year, and wanting to see if we're going to go out to bid. So more to come on that later. And I would imagine, some of that would pertain to what the economic environment is, what if any their prices are for recycling materials, or what market there is for them, and so on and so forth. The in health and welfare, the increase there is primarily in general assistance. That is, the welfare director increased the budget by $5,000, and she had reduced it last year by $5,000. So this is just sort of bringing it up to the year prior. And as you'll see, she's getting closer to spending the existing budget, but it remains to be seen what these last 2 months hold. In culture and recreation, the majority of this increase is that $17,000 for the study for the bridge. So that's what the majority of that is. There's also some additional money anticipating that if Tilton has sole control and ownership of the island, then we also have sole control and ownership of the expense, where we had budgeted half before, doubled that to make that full amount. So, and then outside agencies, this is
So will
just.
that come out?
Well,
When we get,
so the 17,000 would come out, but we've spent money on maintaining it. We've budgeted 50% of what we thought it was going to be, and then we either Northfield either shares in that expense, or if we do something to bill them for it, based on whatever agreement is in place at the time. And so all I did was anticipate that if we're in full control and ownership at some point during 2021, we might need to double that to account for the, that we're the sole source of money for the expenses there.
so the 17,000 is just to get us to where we need to know how much it's gonna.
That's correct. And I apologize for misspeaking, but that's correct. And again, with the change either to the warrant article or through fundraising, I think that, that money could easily come out at town meeting. Outside agencies are simply what the outside agencies requested. And if you've been following along any of the budget meetings, they've been through the majority of those now. And they are reported. On slide 7, these are just sort of just shows you a graphic of where the budget is distributed through the departments, and obviously the largest being the police department. And that is the overview in a nutshell. So I also have for you the 11-page detailed line-by-line budget, which is the breakdown of all of that. And I purposely left off the comments at this point, but when we get down the road, those can be inserted and updated. But and I'm happy to go through any particular line if there are any questions. But essentially, the highlights that I went through in the overview are reflected through here. I may have missed one or two, but But that's the majority. We have gotten, I should say, all the salary information reflecting the merits that the board decided on are in here, with one exception that was still yet to be determined. So all those are in, all the medical costs are in. Of course, we are going into open enrollment, so there could be some changes, but we think we pretty much got that nailed down. Also on page 2, Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, we did get the voted amount, which is $41,129. That's in this budget. And anywhere we've received notice of insurances and that sort of thing, Primex, as I mentioned, the workers' comp went down. So that is,
Insurance went up.
our health insurance went up. That's correct. So health insurance went up 6.4%, and the unemployment insurance was the same. There was a 3.8% increase in property liability, and then workers' comp went down 9%. And of course, workers' comp is often heavily weighted towards the experience and claims factor. So that also bodes well for the town, because we've been doing well.
I'm sure we'll be discussing every line.
I hope so. I should hope so. So this is, did you want to go through any particular department?
Can you just tell me what your thought process was in putting in a 2% where over the past years we've put in 2.5%?
Mainly because of the size of the increase of the overall budget. The 5.3% overall increase was pretty hefty. And last year we had a 0.2% increase. The year prior to that, it was, I believe it was in the 1.3 or 1.4. So this is really, kind of a big leap in an uncertain time. It's easy to change, and it was one of my questions for the board. If you wanted to, what you wanted to do with merit.
Well, the main increase is for the PD, correct?
Yes.
So most of our employees don't work for the PD. I just want to penalize.
Well, this is merely a proposal.
It's
Yeah, I get it.
It's just a draft.
Wanted the thought process.
It's just simply a draft. So, also, I know the sewer commission is working on their budget. I don't have that yet. So this increase is based just off, comparing to 2020 for the same departments.
So Tim, regarding sewer, it's basically a shell game, because we show what our expense is and it's paid through user fees,
Right.
nothing with tax.
Right, it's purely a pass-through for the town. Right, the only thing that it does is it skews our percent increase down, because it makes the total amount bigger.
Unless we do a big increase.
Unless you do a big increase, that's correct. So in other words, the 5.3% might look like a 4.9% or 5.1% when you add in the city money. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at apples to apples. Anyway, I'm happy to go through any particular department at any time, but the budget committee is ready to start having department heads come in and talk about their budgets. So next week I was going to give them just a high level view of the budget, similar to what you just received. And if you have any suggestions for me that you think would improve delivering some of this information to the budget committee, I'm certainly open to that. But that way they'll get an overall framework of what we're looking at. And then as they call in the department heads, I think it'll be a better use of their time having a bigger picture first. So.
I think that this presentation is thoroughly professional, and you get the information at your fingertips when we ask questions. I think the budget committee, from my point of view, would be doing just fine with this information. That's as me.
So,
Agreed.
okay, great. And John, you still there?
Yes, I am.
So I was just going to say, if you want, because you're going to be, going through and determining some of these things, perhaps, we can go through anytime on the phone and in any of the detail you want to go through. I prefer to do it on the phone with you, though.
Yeah, me too.
For obvious reasons. So, David, if you would all turn to your fiber cost analysis, which is that single sheet. So I have finally gotten what I think is a suitable concession from one of our vendors that we've been working with for over 2 years. And because there is very little competition in this area, and it's been a tug of war. I can tell you, it has literally been a tug of war. Having to sometimes listen to how much time they've spent on this town and gotten nothing out of it. And that's the cost of doing business when your prices are too high, or your offering's not good enough, or we can't afford it. And up until now, I think it's been all the above. And I don't know if any of you were on the board when there was a proposal for something that was about $2,000, $2,036 a month. And I can't even recall what year that was. That might have been 14 or 15. And so now we are at a place that is reasonable and justifiable, I believe. And I'm going to take you through this scenario. So in our last time you saw this, we were looking at a 50 meg asynchronous connection to the police department. So it doesn't sound like very much. Everybody talks in gigabytes now, but the difference is that there's absolutely zero lag in this. Well, there's some lag, but compared to, say, a cable modem or other type of connection, the speed at which the data transfers over fiber is remarkably fast and is not bottlenecked or in any way slowed down. And I forget exactly the milliseconds of, occasionally of any kind of lag that isn't seen by any kind of device. So it's an incredibly reliable environment. We're not thwarted by any other users on this network. It's also managed by Consolidated Communications, so that we have basically a virtual LAN between the police department and the town hall. But rather than having 50 meg only there, 5 meg going up to Belknap Mountain, which is one of the requirements for our communications to the tower, and then 20 meg coming to town hall, we've negotiated a 100 meg connection to the PD, 50 meg coming to town hall, and 5 meg going up to Belknap. We only need 5 meg going up to Belknap. One of the other agencies that's up on Belknap that's using the same vendor has a 2 meg connection, and it's not enough, and they've been having problems. In talking with the vendors, they said, you'll be fine with 3. So the cost difference between 3 and 5 is negligible. So if we get it in the contract, we've got 5, and we should be more than fine. So again, very little that happens going back and forth to Belknap, but the way this would work is the main connection comes into the PD. A line, essentially, we're connected into the fiber along the street, and that gives us both phone service directly into the phone server at the PD and data directly to the PD and out into the internet. So we still maintain our own firewall here for motor vehicles and things like that. We have to have what's called a static IP, or basically our own address from DMV to be able to do that sort of work. But at the same time, we are on our own virtual private network, if you will. So we are completely segmented from the rest of the internet. It's our own thing back and forth. So it makes interdepartmental communication so much easier. And in particular with the phone system, where we're able to update our entire phones here, rewire the building, put new phones in. They're all voice over IP phones, including a conference phone, for the, up here. And then we are all extensions off of the same phone system. But when you call the town hall phone line, even though it will ring through that server, it'll ring over here and not PD. You call the PD, it rings over to PD and not here. But I could pick up a phone and hit the extension for the chief and get the chief, and without placing an external call. At the same time, this vendor also controls plain old telephone service lines, so the POTS lines. So we're able to get POTS lines at a contracted price that's very low for our backup for both town hall and at the PD. So we'd be paying $36 and no additional fees on that other than a small tax. And so if for some reason the fiber line was severed, there's a whole redundancy that builds back over to these separate lines. So in the town hall, we'd have 2 lines. At the PD, we'd have 2 lines. It's not ideal, but it still allows you to continue to work and do things, until that line is physically repaired. So in any event, what we're looking at here is some additional, slight additional cost to get that 100 by 50, the 100 to the PD and the 50 to the town hall. So we're looking at, including tax, the estimated tax, we're looking at about $125 more a month than what we're paying now for our existing service at town hall and at the PD. So considering the fact that we're getting there are capital costs, so this is the operational cost ongoing. But considering the small amount of money that we're paying for that, it is an incredible advantage to the PD and to town hall staff. So it also gives us the capability of setting up, even if there were a single receptionist for the whole town, you could do something like that. So the possibilities are endless. I would just want to replicate what we have now and layer in more services over time. But it's the type of thing where voicemail goes into your email, and you can have a virtual phone number. So the selectmen could each have an extension through the system and get a voicemail through that if you didn't want to use your personal cell phone. The capital costs, the one-time costs, are at the bottom of this page. And you can see that there is a slight increase in the fiber installation, I believe it was at Town Hall, in this new configuration. And then also we added another speakerphone at PD. But this is adding the additional phones that we needed at PD, replacing all the phones here, and including additional phone for this meeting room, and then recabling this entire building. So if you recall, we still have the balance of the MetroCast grant for network cabling, and I've been waiting until the dust settled. Well, but when the dust is settled, we've got our walls, we've got people situated where they are, and I feel very comfortable saying that by recabling, we'll have everything that we need for this new system. So the total one-time charges would be $13,970 across. Now that includes all the new phones for the PD. It's not replacing all the phones that we have there. They're all compatible. But adding the phones we need, putting the new phones in here for the town hall. It includes all the capital costs of installing the fiber to the buildings that the vendor requires, including Belknap Tower, and it includes the rewiring of this building. So of that, we're able to use that $5,847 of the grant. And if you add up the one-time costs for the police station, the new equipment, the fiber, fiber installed at Belknap and the fiber installed at PD, that amounts to $71.85. So that leaves us a net cost that's not covered either by the grant or our contingency line in the construction portion. That leaves us a net cost of $937. So, you know, there could be a few other costs, but I have explored every cost I could in terms of the two vendors that would be involved in this.
If I have a question. Why would we, what is the sheriff's line in senior center unlock?
So those are lines that we pay for now, and we're required to have that sheriff's line. That's essentially our call box in the lobby of the PD. So that is paid for under the town hall phone lines right now.
Yeah.
So that's why it appears there, because that's what we're actually paying out of pocket. The senior center alarm, that is the, that's obviously the alarm line for that.
But isn't that under the Mango contract?
No, it's we pay for the phone line, but Mango does the monitoring.
The monitoring.
Right. We pay for the line itself.
So the line itself, so you, under this configuration, you would change that?
No, we'd still be, so in that salmon colored section, those are the proposed. So we're still showing that we're going to pay for that senior center alarm line. And
So that would stay, so the fiber at Belknap, fiber costs and the voice over IP lines, two POTS lines, sheriff's lines, senior center alarm, all that will stay the same, pretty much.
yes,
Okay, got it. I understand now. Thank you.
that's what I missed. So, right,
I had a question.
yes.
John?
Oh,
Who's responsible for the maintenance and the cost if the line, like fiber optic, break? And also, what about the Public Works Department?
yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So the fiber is, it's not dark fiber, so we don't own it. It is the responsibility of the vendor to repair that. The only portion that we would own is what's just like with any home owner today, it's what's inside the building. So we would have that. They deliver RJ45 fiber inside the building, and anything else would be ours. The Public Works, I did look at that. It was an additional charge to add that. And I can find that here. It just seemed as though it was a step too far. Let's see, here we are. So Public Works was going to be $68.11 a month additional, and then $900 installation to get some fiber down there. And that would have been more like maybe like a 10 meg asynchronous fiber. Their needs are pretty simple down there. And right now, what we have is just the pre-cable modem from Atlantic. We don't even have, we're not even paying for the upcharge for a higher service level there.
You just mentioned the RJ45, but then you said that you were explaining to John that they own the fiber and they'll fix the fiber or anything to the building and inside the building we own. Well, the RJ45 is inside the building.
Well, okay, so
I'm not understanding.
So I was saying in terms of the likely break of the fiber line outside, the tree fell and broke a line, something like that. They're responsible for all that. They bring the fiber to the building.
An interface, right?
And into an interface, and from that interface, we don't have to provide any other the equipment, but basically something that would transform one type of line into another. They're actually providing us, adapter, if you will. They're providing us with an RJ45 type of connection. So like an Ethernet phone type of.
Right. So are we, that same vendor, are we using them to run internal lines for these?
No.
So you're using another vendor to do that?
That's correct. So at the PD, so the PD, it's all being done by the electrician. The electrician is doing all the data cabling with the exception of the surveillance system is being done by Mango. And then the electrician is running all the data and phone cables there. And at Town Hall, it would be the phone company that we utilize at the PD, not the vendor of the fiber. The phone company that we use there would be doing cabling here. So in effect, we wouldn't have any finger pointing here because they're going to do all the data and phone drops here, bring them in. Their proposal also includes a rack in the IT room and a patch panel. And so anything that goes from that IT room out to a phone for data, they've not only been responsible for the cabling, but also for the service of the phone all the way back to the PD. So, and they're putting in, as part of this, they're not charging us for a brand new server, phone server at the PD, and utilizing our current one as a backup. So, and this new phone server is a rack-mounted phone server. I believe they're looking forward to using us as a reference and bringing people in and showing them, how we utilize their phone service as part of this.
John, did you have a follow-up question?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
So what we could do is, if the board were in agreement, which I certainly hope you are, because we're really going to need this, that we could negotiate in something for the Public Works Department, but not do it day one, so that we could make it an option that we could utilize at some point in time during this. And I can see if I can work on those numbers a little bit. But there was less justification because we don't have any existing expense there. And what I was really looking to do was to offset the expense of the PD. And by getting rid of all of our basically higher expense phone lines here, that helps justify the fiber townwide.
If you're mobile, I'm sorry, Joe.
Go ahead.
If you're doing that now, is there any mobilization to add into that while they're doing all of the work? Would it be extra a year from now or 2 years from now to add in Public Works?
Not if we negotiate it into the contract.
I'm all for that. Do that. Yeah.
And for that matter, I mean, we could also probably negotiate something in also for the senior center.
For $68 a month, I think it's well worth getting all of the time, into it. I mean, not so much the senior center because we have one phone. It's one person that's using it, that's utilizing it. But I mean, if it grew, I could see, but the Public Works where you could utilize having phone in the, with mechanics and phone in the other room.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, where I would have loved, if it were a blank slate and blank check, I would have said Riverfront, Public Works, Senior Center, Town Hall, PD, basically all of our covered, areas. But, but maybe what I can do is maybe I can get those included in the contract and just say if there were ever something that we wanted to do. But this is based off of a 3-year contract. So all these prices are based off of that term.
So within that 3 years, you could add Public Works if you negotiated.
Right. If we get it in up front. Yeah. And maybe we'll actually benefit. Maybe 3 years from now, maybe there will be competition in town, but there really isn't right now. And as I said, we've got to have fiber for the for Belknap tower. So what I would be asking the board, and I'm happy to send out, I've got buckets of information on the, the model phones and the proposals and the contracts and all that sort of thing. But it's just a ton of stuff. If you want that, I'll be happy to send that out. But this sheet really encapsulates everything, and it's really the justification for how we can best afford this. And so what I'd be looking for is the board to, some type of consensus for somebody to move forward with these two vendors. And let me know whatever else you would need to make that decision, and I'll get it. I can tell you, we will be running up against, I'm already being told we're running up against the installation time frame for the fiber. That there's a lead time on that of about 8 weeks. So right now we're looking at a late December install. And where, Joe, you asked earlier about mission critical and will we have the ability to dispatch and all that. So, we have some time, we don't have a lot of time.
Get her done.
Let's make a motion. Make a motion to instruct Tim to go ahead and negotiate and institute or
Enact
enact
the fiber
contract, a fiber contract with two vendors, and also include public works department
As an option.
as an option.
Okay, is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
So I guess the only concern I had was the wording of the contract for the interior wiring at the town hall, that they run the wires a little bit better than what they are, because there's a lot of just loose wires in the ceiling and they aren't harnessed or anything presently.
Yeah, no, these guys are pros at it. I don't know if you've seen any of their other work, but they.
Remember that guy, okay?
I do. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we suffer bottlenecks down here in town hall. I mean, I see it all the time the servers are just waiting for something to do, and the route that's being taken is just circuitous to get certain things done. So no, they're all going to be end runs back to the IT room as well. And I believe there's 30 drops for phone and data.
Yeah, presently the ones up there are just, they aren't even in harnesses or anything, and they're just kind of dangling around stuff, and that that they would remove the old wires at the same time.
So I've run across that before. That isn't in the offing. And they all say, the people I've talked to have said, we're happy to do it, but there's an additional expense for it. So I've tried to keep it as inexpensive as possible. I sort of look at it like, a form of insulation, I guess. Where it's impacting, getting through a wall or something like that, yeah. That would make sense. But otherwise, if it's just, just the time and materials to pull it out of there, I wouldn't want to spend any more money than we would have to, I guess.
It's an awful mess up there if you pull a ceiling tile out. I just wouldn't want to add to that mess, harnessing it and, removing any old cables, as they can. Maybe not go through the whole thing, but just, you can cut them, pull them out, because it's a rat's nest.
Yeah, if it's loose and it doesn't require a lot of time and they're just pulling it out, throwing it out, I don't think they'd have a problem with that. These guys are pretty good and pretty reasonable.
They would harness it all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they test all the lines. They provide a report, for all that, just like any data cable. And the only thing is that you will see in some locations, depending upon the flooring, it would be an exterior box. These aren't going to necessarily be, set into the wall or drywall, depending upon the wall material. But, that's what we've done. That's what we did at the police department. It's the most cost-effective way to put the new cabling in.
That's,
You got anything else there, John?
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Were you not? Did you vote?
Yeah.
Oh, you were.
Yeah, it's unanimous. They made the motion.
That's right.
There you go.
If there's nothing else for me, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just had one more thing.
Sure, John.
Tim, what line is the Conservation Commission under?
Oh, sure. So I got that from the, it's in the land use. It is on page 5 at the top, very top line, and that is directly from Chuck. The $8,200 request is what the Conservation Commission provided. The only board I don't have right now, well, I should say 2 groups. I don't have supervisors with a checklist, but I estimated that based on prior years where there was one election, which I think is sufficient. And then the only other one is Bob Hardy is working on the Parks Commission budget right now. And he and I did a back and forth in touch on that, so I know he's working on that.
Okay.
So that budget is last year's budget. Just like that. And there will be a request for a warrant article for milfoil. That was one of the other items from the Conservation Commission. I believe it was $5,000.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, next thing up is the Selectmen's report. You're up first.
Okay, so this week, the highway went down to get the fewer lumber in Atkinson to get more wood that was donated. The prison is going to put up walls in the senior center outbuilding. We're going to insulate the middle section and put up walls, and they've donated the wood. So Kevin and the guys went down and picked it up, and it's currently under the top there. We're still looking for a portable table saw, because apparently we need to supply the tools for the prisoners to work with. I've got most everything that Mr. Johnson said that they would need, except a portable table saw. They'll need it for about 2 weeks, maybe a week, depending on what the weather conditions are. And then we'll return it, but I don't know of anybody. Do you have one?
I have a question. Did you just say that the highway department went down to Atkinson and picked up the wood? So how much time and labor was that?
I don't know, we're gonna get the bill when it goes against the senior center.
He budgeted, I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 hours, that's something.
So it goes against. So if he does any work for the senior center, doesn't matter, going down and getting it, he charges it to the senior.
Well, it just means that something else is not like that.
Yeah, well, we get planned on doing.
Why would we charge you for the labor? He's gonna
We don't.
do something.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't charge labor, it's just coming down.
It's what we did, Peter, when we looked at parks. It's just to show you what the time is that the DPW is putting in, what the value of that is, that's all it is.
You have to show us something.
I don't-
We will charge the diesel fuel or whatever else is required, any materials.
My God, let's get into the minutia. I don't, it's part of their budget, whatever. Gee. Do we charge the coffee breaks to them too, Pat, you know?
I'm just grateful that we got it. I mean, it's free. It's free.
It's the same pockets, we're just going from left to right. Why do we have to charge to the other?
It's thousands of dollars.
It's creating unnecessary work for the finance.
It's what?
Is it a store or is it a
It's a
barn?
lumber company that donated it to us.
Oh. I didn't know it was like a barn that got torn down.
No, it's a lumber company that was, they donated it. It just happened to be,
Started.
yeah.
Yeah, question.
So this Saturday is Halloween in downtown. You see a lot on Facebook that people are saying, well, where's Halloween? Where's Halloween? Who's doing, what town's doing Halloween? And they're asking the same question over and over again. Tilton is doing Halloween. Halloween is downtown from 4 to 7. We're going to have a parade and all that kind of nice things. But the residential is a little bit later than that. And in the past, and this is the point that I want to say to everybody and let everybody pass the word around, if people are not engaging in trick or treat, they leave the lights off. If they want somebody to come to their door for candy for trick or treat, they put the light on their porch. It's just as simple as that. A lot of people have been asking this week, well, what happens if the kids come and I don't want them to come because of COVID? We'll leave the light off.
Don't answer the door.
Leave the light off, and the kids should know not to go to that house because the lights are off. Tilton School is senior helping seniors. They're going out November 2nd to pick up leaves. They're doing 8 projects. 2 of them are in Northfield. I've contacted Judy and Kevin to pick up the bags in Tilton the next day or the day after, depending if he can get to them, because it's election day. And I've also contacted Northfield as well to let them know that there's 2 over there. I attended the budget last night. Our health welfare director was there to talk about the interactions with the different outside agencies. But afterwards, they set the times. The next budget meetings are going to be November 4th and 18th. And they're going to ask the department heads to come in and present their budget. And I think, Tim, you're going to go next week to kind of give them the overlay, correct?
And I'll be there each week, anyway, so, yeah.
Right. And also we kind of discussed a little bit about the CBA, but we'll talk about that in the non-public. That's it.
I'm good.
Just like to announce that the state of New Hampshire has installed a light on Route 3 at Silver Lake Road. It's not actually flashing yet, but the structure of it is in place. They put it up this morning, yesterday morning.
Nice.
And I just wanted to say this, Mr. Buswell, who for years and years lobbied for that light, and wrote letters for that light, and didn't live to see the light. Congratulations, Cliff, wherever you are.
Traffic light or a blinking light?
It's going to be a red blinking on Silver Lake, and it's going to be yellow blinking on Route 3. It's not going to be an official stop and go. But people come flying over that hill and
When you see it flashing yellow, you go past it. You want to make sure it doesn't change.
Will it change when you approach it?
functioning yet. No, No, it won't change at all.
Yellow on Route 3, red on Silver Lake.
That's right. It's just flashing so that people know that it's there. There's been a number of accidents at that intersection where it's like, I didn't even know it was there.
Didn't we put the stop bar there? Even though it's not our road to maintain.
Yeah. Okay. And that's it for me, Eric.
Oh, there was an email that went out and I didn't think of it until this morning, so I don't know if I'm too late. But regarding the Tilton Times that goes out in the tax bills, can we put something in there about the need for volunteers to serve on boards and committees?
We were planning to, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. On state night, we had a fire district meeting, a budget committee meeting, and then the commissioners met to start going over the budget for the second time to go over the budget for next year. And one of the line items that is projected for next year is to repair the Opticon system along the Route 3 corridor from Franklin to Home Depot. And it came up, there's 4 intersections currently that those lights, or the Opticon system is not working. And my question, when they presented the amount, was, does this include a police detail? And where the fire department, and this is where I don't know how to present it, but my question is the town of Tilton going to charge the fire district for police detail? Or are they going to require a police detail while that work is done?
It's a state road.
Here's the answer, Eric. When sewer commission does work, we have to go to the chief. If he says you need a detail, we end up paying for the detail. You save $5 or $10. What is it then?
$10.
$10 on your rate, that's it.
No, but I guess my question is where the police department uses the same system and they're not, the town of Tilton is doing.
I haven't seen them use it. I see them all the time and
It's
it's
4 of the intersections aren't working.
Huh?
That's because 4 of the intersections aren't working.
Which 4?
Hold on.
Because when you crest, when you're on the middle of the 93 overpass,
Yep.
it goes all the way to Home Depot, like that.
The 160 Laconia Road, Home Depot is not responding.
Okay.
The Route 3 Sanborn Road is not responding. It's where the police station.
132, yeah.
The northbound off ramps, the strobe is inoperative. And then down at Smitty's Plaza there, that's not responding.
So who fixes it? Does the state fix it or does the
The
fire
fire
department?
department fixes it. They put out a bid to get that
What's
repaired,
the cost?
$6,000.
I've been asking for years for the PD to use the Opticons, and I get every song and dance of why we can't.
Well, it's probably because they're not working. So,
Well, except for I've always seen the fire department, and usually when they do it, they all go.
yeah, some of them do, some of them don't. So,
Okay, this integrating into a conversation.
so I'm just looking to see is there a way for the town to not charge and provide a detail for them to do it? Otherwise, it's going to add on cost. And then, it's just one out of the other.
It's no different than the water district or the sewer commission.
We have a policy that would include the fire department.
Save $10 an hour.
You do get a discount rate, but it's one of the selectmen's ordinances that if the chief of police says that you need a detail for whatever they're doing, because I have no.
I don't know exactly what's going to be done.
You have to go, you have them talk to the chief.
Yeah.
I will have the chief.
If he says they need a detail, then
Well, I'm sure they're going to,
there's
it's,
a discounted rate.
Since the sensor is up on the crossbar, usually somewhere in the middle, they're gonna be out in a lane of traffic.
that's correct.
Right.
The company that's going to do it, I'm sure will
Right.
provide the details. And then my only other issue was, I haven't seen or heard anything about Halloween safety. Is the chief coming before us tonight to talk about that, or?
He will be here for non-public, I believe. Last time he was here, he talked about Halloween safety with the board.
I thought he was supposed to be back last week and we didn't get to him.
We talked about Halloween safety.
Oh, yeah, he talked.
I thought we had him scheduled last week, and then all of a sudden we said, I'm sorry, Chief, we didn't get to talk about Halloween safety at the end of the meeting.
The week before, I think. So
Because last week he sat back.
well, it could be. There's no need to go there now. I do have some concerns still. And I'd like to talk to the chief about it, but we can do that at the end, because they'll be here. Yeah? Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay, John, you're up last. But not least.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Let's move to the town administrator's report.
Can I just say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Real quick. I forgot to say thank you to Gail because Gail went ahead and got all our prizes for the Halloween. Like she does every year. Super, super duper Gail. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gail. Okay. Jeannie, you have the floor.
Thank you. So you have my report under action items, the Primex program renewals. Tim mentioned it during his review of the budget that we saw 3.8% increase in our property and liability. We saw a 9% decrease in our workers' comp program, and our unemployment comp program, there was no change. So I'm asking the board to go ahead and approve these program renewals.
So moved.
Second. We now have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. John?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is Juliet Harvey Bolio purchased some mums from Main Street in the amount of $55.75. The funds would come from the 150th account, but what's left in balance. And I'm asking the board to approve this expense.
To reimburse it?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to reimburse Juliet Harvey Bolia for purchased mums in the total of $55.75. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you. The next item, moderator Chuck Mitchell would like the board to appoint Ryan Scanlon and Kim Souls as inspector of the elections.
I would make a motion to appoint Ryan Scanlon and Kim Souls as inspector of elections. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Chairman, I'll abstain from that vote, please.
Let the record show. And the motion passes.
Next item, Christmas wreaths. Bob Hardy reached out to find out if the board would like to purchase 10 wreaths again this year for in the amount of $315.
Tim, do we have $315?
Yeah,
And where would it come?
it comes from the administrative miscellaneous line.
Okay. So I make a motion to order 10 wreaths from Bob Hardy for a total of $315. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried.
Yeah, thank you. Last item under action. So last week we had a discussion about getting RFQs for the ball field. I did speak with Bob Hardy about that. He sent an email saying they're not going to pursue getting quotes for the ball field. The next day, I was speaking with Catherine Dawson, and she said she would be willing to get the quotes. I'm not sure what you want me to do because I'm assuming that Catherine spoke with Bob, so I don't know what's going on. And so,
So if
I
you
guess-
said rest of parks, the answer would be no.
what's that?
When you, in the parentheses, rest of parks, the answer is no.
Okay,
She may have spoken to Bob, I don't know.
so is this just a dead issue, I guess?
I would say let Catherine go and get the quotes. I think that we need to figure it out because we did say something at town meeting that we would look into making sure that there's some type of covering over there.
I just have a, I think that entire parcel is currently under the purview of this board. And my concern is that I don't think that they're gonna finish any outdoor landscaping or anything like that this growing season. And then we're gonna sit dormant in the winter. And then in the spring, they'll probably have to come back. And I'm only guessing, I don't know this for sure, but to finish landscaping and things like that. And we don't know how the lot is gonna look when it's all said and done. And you might be getting inaccurate quotes based on where things lie, where where everything finishes up. And I think it would be prudent not to do that until the snow melts and the landscaping is completed.
So,
If you recall, the reason this whole discussion was brought up was so that we could get quotes to get a contract to encumber money so that we don't have more extra costs in future years when we know the rates are going up substantially. And basically, when Milestone is done, the area should look similar to what it did when they started. So it should be relatively level. Shouldn't be a whole lot of additional work, so they can give a bid relatively close.
Milestone is not in that area. So
But, well, the parking lot area is sort of,
parking
they're
lot,
using,
right, that's the parking lot area where they're at, it's not the ball field.
all they have to do is level that before they leave.
So that's not gonna change.
So I guess I'm just looking for advice from the board because, and actually probably Peter weighed in on it because it's the Parks Commission. And I heard from the chairman of the Parks Commission that we weren't moving forward. Catherine's part of Parks. So I don't know.
Well, I haven't spoken to Bob since, but maybe because the area is under the control of the Board of Selectmen, he's waiting until it comes back to Parks. I don't know.
and I would say that,
So maybe we need more clarification from Parks.
if the Parks Commission want to be a part of this and going forward, then I rejoice. But if they don't, that's their purview.
So Peter, do you think it's wise to wait another week just to have you all just make sure everyone's on the same page?
I'm thinking it's a split Parks Commission, and I've got some on my side, so it's, you guys do what you want.
Do you have authorization to speak with the Parks Commission?
I'm ex officio. I relay information between boards. That's my job, and I'm a voting member.
Alrighty.
So we have a chair, and I'll forget now if I'm vice chair or who is, but Bob has run the meetings ever since I've been on.
But if we continue to waste time bickering back and forth on whose purview it is, meanwhile, we have somebody that is qualified to go out and get quotes for us. At least we can have an idea of what the quote would, what the money amount would be. We could have that ready, willing, and able when we get this squared away. We promised the people something, we really need to fulfill that promise. And if Catherine's willing to go out and get quotes, let her go out and get the quotes on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. Simple as that. And then we have the quotes. It's not gonna hurt, we're not doing anything, we're not changing anything. We don't know if it's gonna cost 10,000, 25,000, 75,000. This will give us an idea of how much it will cost us.
Is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion that we ask Catherine Dawson on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to go out and get quotes to
What's the scope of work?
for the scope of work on the ball field.
I don't know, as I recall for a second on that motion. There has to be a plan. Is it gonna be a Lassie park? Is it gonna be a football field? Is it gonna be a skateboarding? What is the scope of work?
Let's for now just say to level, loam, and seed the field in preparation for what it will or can be, to be determined.
Okay, is there a second?
One second for discussion.
Is there a discussion?
Why do we need a motion? Just a consensus. Yeah,
We have a motion on the table.
I understand that.
Joe?
John?
I think we all have to remember, we're doing this for the town of Tilton, for the residents, for the kids, and everybody. We got to come together. We got to work together on this. Poor Jeannie's here, caught between a gravel parking lot and a green space, and she just wants to get something done. We all want to get something done. We need to all join together and work together to get something done for the residents. We want the select board, and I don't think I'm alone, all want to see something done at a recreational facility there. Yes, we are in charge right now, but that's because of the construction. But we want to turn it back over to the parks, and we want to have something meaningful there and give them something. So if we can work together, everybody's going to be happy. This is not a good idea, locking horns like this.
I wonder,
No, absolutely.
I guess, who's qualified to tell us? Is there someone out there qualified to tell us what would fit in that parcel? Will a Lassie League field, will a skate, maybe you can fit a skate park and a softball field in that parcel. How do we know? Is there someone that maybe we look at hiring a professional park planner and get that, and so we can see with that, and then get the costs of it. Just like we hired someone to tell us if the police station would fit on that piece of property. Maybe we need to look at someone, and then instead of just looking at that, someone that does that for a living, tell us what can fit there.
Well, if we're thinking a skate park, then we're talking tens of thousands right there, because you're gonna need either an asphalt or concrete base. You're gonna do ramps and stuff. That'll be a lot of those. So I guess you guys have to decide what you want to do.
I think
Jeannie also.
I was just gonna make a comment, I think Pat's motion, it just sets the field up for whatever it is you determine. I mean, it's gonna, whether it's a Lassie League or a football field or something entirely different, it sounds to me like what you're looking for, so putting it in a condition that it can be buildable, right? So you're just trying to get the, if I'm understanding that, right, you're just trying to get that information, what's it gonna take to get the field leveled at the moment? Not anything else at this point.
We'll turn it over, then they can decide.
Okay. At this time, I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you. The last action item, I actually didn't put on, because it kind of came late, the disinfectant. So we had a discussion about disinfectant. We are using a certain disinfectant here at Town Hall. Somebody brought up at the last meeting that should we be using that at the election next week? And I relayed to the board that the disinfectant we're using here has had, it seems that we had an overspray. I haven't heard any complaints since there was an overspray and it affected it, the folks at Town Hall. So that then led me to a concern about using it over the election. So then Peter provided information on what Compass Classical Academy uses. And so here we are right now. The question is does this board want to spray a disinfectant, at the election? Is it before, after, during? How do you see that? And do you want to use what you use here at Town Hall, or what Peter suggested that Compass Classical uses? And I couldn't tell you, I'm not a chemist, so I don't know, if one is safer than the other. I assume the one we're using here at Town Hall is safe because it came with the sprayer.
Well, but it's a chemical disinfectant, where I think the school is using more natural. There's lemongrass, and I'm not sure what else is in it, so it's.
And if we decided to use that, then that's, I need to, I guess, find out if it would work in this unit.
It's the same unit.
Oh, it is, okay.
We also have little spray bottles that we have in our classroom, so like between classes, we can spray our desks down and mist them with.
So that's the question for the board. Do you want to do it at the election? When do you want to do it, and what do you want to use? Because if you want to use what Peter suggests, I mean, we've got all kinds of the stuff that we use here at Town Hall. If you want to use what Peter's suggesting, we need to purchase that, and hopefully we'll have it by Tuesday.
Well, maybe we can work a deal where you purchase it from the school. Maybe I can check with Judy.
And how do you see
Otherwise,
that spray?
me personally, I would just as soon see the spot spray by somebody with a bottle to make sure that areas are disinfected. And that doesn't include some spots that a spray would get, certainly, but I think we did okay with it last time. Now, my understanding is that one of the employees downstairs had some kind of a reaction to the spray that we used, correct?
I think a lot of us did, but again, it was an overspray. When I checked why it actually happened, apparently there was an accidental bump of the dial, which
Increased it.
yes.
Have you been using it since that time?
Since then, since where it's been dialed correctly, yes, and I haven't heard any complaints since then, not since the day that I walked in.
My only concern with you, I would love to see it used at the election, and I would go ahead and use ours because that was an accidental overspray. It was. My only concern is that with this election, will it be so busy over there, getting in between people, and when it clears out, how are you going to be able to get that moment to spread? And that's the only downside. Excuse me, downside.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, Joe.
I think this is the purview of the moderator. I don't think we should be just making plans to go in there and spray stuff without running it past and seeing what he has planned. And I know he's laid out everything for cleaners, and he had things before and wipes, as well as what the Secretary of State's recommending.
Good point, John. Eric?
Well, that would make my point moot, but I'll say it anyways. When the reaction happened at Town Hall, were there people here or is it after they came in?
So, town hall was sprayed and then we came in
How soon afterward?
probably a half hour.
So my concern is a half hour afterward, and we're gonna do it live with people there. Peter, the product that you guys use, do they use it when people are present, or is it after the students, and what's the distance, the gap in time between spray and people coming back into the room?
It's your dwell time, which is about plus or minus 3 minutes. During classes, we have a person going through the halls with the sprayer. The classrooms where hitting usually between classes, the students may wait outside and then come in. I would suggest instead of using the ULV sprayer, you put it into spray bottles and do that. And all I would do is ask the voters, if you're that concerned, can you give me a minute so I can spray it down? And all, if they don't care, it's like, have at it. But if you have concerns, give me a minute, we'll disinfect for you.
Okay, spot sprayer or the ULV?
It doesn't, either one is fine with me.
I prefer the safer chemical.
Yeah, but that, it doesn't say, address the question of ULV.
Well, you may need both, but use the spot sprayer predominantly.
They did that at the primary, didn't they? Someone was like washing tables downtown. So
I would check with the moderator.
I'm with John and
Yeah.
contacting the moderator.
Well, what I would suggest is moderator, we're offering you this, is this something you're interested in?
Well, there you go. There you go. I can get behind that.
We use a similar product to that, and they do the buses, and we get on the buses right away, so. definitely.
Okay, let's go with that.
So to be clear, I'm going to call the moderator and say, we'd be willing to provide you with this, product. We don't have spray bottles, but that's what we're offering, so we would need to get spray bottles.
They had some spray bottles because they were using them at the last election.
So they have them.
They were using them at the last election. I don't know who had.
Were they solid white, Joe, or were they?
They were whitish colored.
Those came from Judy in the school.
Okay, so we're going to offer or to the moderator to use the product that Compass Classical uses or what we use. Okay. Either one.
Either one.
Okay, so I will call the moderator tomorrow or I'll send an email tonight, see if there's any interest.
Okay, thank you.
You looked at my FYIs. I don't know if anyone has any questions there. If not, a couple things I wanted to just follow up with you on. So John Scanlon brought to my attention that the chair of the Historical Society, John Cirillo, is a landscape designer. And John has volunteered to provide a landscape design for I'm calling it a Timetable Maple Park. That's where we're going to place that plaque. He's very enthusiastic about it. He's already started working on it.
Posted on Facebook already.
Oh, okay.
If that picture was accurate, it looks like the work is done.
No, it's not accurate. It's still got the unit for work.
Yeah, so and I was asked about pulling out bushes and I said, we need to talk to the selectmen first about it. This is something they want to pursue. I can't imagine we're going to be doing any work now. I would see it happen in the spring and I would see it putting together a design and then having him come and present it to the board. I think it's a great idea. It's the entrance into downtown. You've got the statue there, the water there, I think it would be wonderful.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes too.
Get it on.
Okay, so I will reach out to
Ron, you good with that?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, looked great. I couldn't believe it.
Very nice.
Oh, there was one other thing, Jeannie. You want to remind Kevin that statue was originally fed through a pipe into the thing. So Kevin might have some pipes that go underneath the statue there that might be entangled in the bushes.
Okay. And we talked about getting that working again. A week or so ago, Peter asked about the skating rink. So I don't know where we're at with what's going on over at the site, but I did follow up with Milestone. They said that they would be done with all heavy equipment. That was my concern, is that there's going to be a lot of activity still going on. So they're going to be done by mid-December. There will be no heavy equipment on site, and pretty much they'll be working inside the building. So the property, you would have access. There's nothing going on the outside, so you don't have to worry about that. Kevin said he typically installs the rink mid-December when it starts. That's what he's recommending. We did look at, last year, the water company built the rink. It was approximately $1,000, maybe just a few dollars more than that. Kevin said we can do that. He said he thought it would take about 3 days, 8 hours each day to run the water from the well. And he would need to have somebody man it, so to make sure the water went where it needed to go. And
He does just check every couple of hours or so. The pool, if I fill an above ground pool, I'm not watching the water the whole time.
And he also just, he mentioned a concern about the well pump. Right? He didn't know, he's only asking questions. Will that well pump handle that kind of use over 3 days? Because he said it would take about 3 days to fill it.
The well pump has run over 12 hours or so straight, so yes, no problem. We've had a time where we had a leak up in the park and it went out the back corner, around the bend and down the back side of Tanger into their drain. So it's just a garden hose rake, but it'll do it.
So anyway, I just wanted to follow up with that information.
So even though they're not in where the rink is going, we don't have access till December 15th or so.
Oh,
Put the rink
that's,
in,
I'm sorry.
to put the rink in, Milestone is saying mid-December.
No, that's when they said there won't be anything going on the outside. And that's what Kevin says, is he typically puts it in around that time.
The 1 year, I think we did mid-December, I was fortunate my neighbor had a hammer drill, because you had about 2 to 3 inches of frost and you can't get those plastic pieces in.
Yeah.
Now's the time to put it in. If we're gonna put it in.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure now is the time,
Thanksgiving-ish.
because they're still working.
You can't go in the other way to do it?
It's all fenced, isn't it?
No.
Well, what part is it fenced?
From the Tabor end in?
The existing fences there.
Yeah, it's
You
fenced.
get by that,
You can get around it, but it's not easy.
If we can get around it.
Well, how do they mow? Do they go into? They go in the other
you
side?
go in the far
Yeah.
entrance.
Right. So if you went into the far entrance on the rink, couldn't you?
So would the board like the skating rink to go?
We own it. We've got a lot of money invested in it. We should set it up. I believe.
I'm sure Kevin will figure out a way to get it in there. That I'm not concerned about.
Yeah, I think we have it, let's put it up.
Somebody has. There.
Just check with Milestone to make sure it's not gonna be in their way and new issues before.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Peter?
Yes.
John,
Yeah, coordinate it with Milestone, get it done.
Yeah, so the consensus is that we install the ring
Okay.
at the, that possible time.
Just also want to point out that we've got holidays coming up, and I looked at the calendar, so on November 26th, December 24th, and December 31, that's Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, they all fall on Thursdays. So I'm assuming we're not going to have selectmen's meetings.
No, let's have selectmen's meeting.
I'm thinking,
Why, we can't go anywhere anyway, so.
Christmas Eve, let's come on. It's COVID, we're here alone.
All right.
We have a little campaign.
What about November 12th too? Because that's the day after the holiday. People might want to take a couple of days, actually. So let's do the 12th, November 12th too, because the November 11th is a holiday. There's some people that need to take paid time off. There's stacking up over there. And then they could do Thursday and Friday.
how many weeks are we talking about?
So there's November 12th,
November 12th, November
Thanksgiving.
25th,
November 25th.
December 24th, and December 31.
Works for me.
Yeah.
You?
So what are we doing?
I'm just telling you that that's when the holidays fall, and I'm assuming you're not going to want to have selectmen's meetings. I'm just bringing it to your attention.
So November what?
November 12th.
November 12th, it's the day
That's
after.
more or less for the
Memorial-
employees
Veterans Day.
to have a long weekend for Veterans Day. That, and then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas and New Year's.
You said our meeting, I thought.
I did.
Well, then the 12th, if the 12th is a Thursday, then the 11th is a Wednesday?
Yeah.
So the holiday is the Wednesday, but we're gonna do Wednesday and Thursday?
No,
No, I think, well,
I think what we're saying is Wednesday is the holiday.
Mhm.
So if we didn't have a Thursday night meeting, there are some people, staff people that would like to take Thursday and Friday off and make a long weekend. Because they have earned time that they need to use or lose.
As long as there's no pressing business, you missed that one, Joe.
Exactly, unless it's pressing business and then we need to.
I'll be sending you more, just one of them, I think.
right, and as, you
I
know,
thought
if
I
we,
signed it.
if we need to
Yeah,
have
first
a
side.
meeting, we can have
No,
a.
I've signed 2 places.
I'm in favor.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm just concerned that it's getting to the end of the year, we're gonna be missing 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 8 weeks.
Well,
Well, the good news is we won't be Christmas shopping with potential money, so that could be good.
Christmas and New Year's, we've always taken off.
Correct, but we're gonna be,
Thanksgiving.
we're gonna be,
And
We're gonna be-
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
we're gonna, no, I get that, but we're gonna, but New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve are on Thursday, we're gonna be, that's the end of the year, when are you gonna encumber funds and things like that? So you need to have,
Do you want to come in on New Year's Eve?
no, I'm not saying New Year's Eve, but do you have another meeting? I don't know how this runs, my first time.
Okay, then,
and, yeah, as I said,
so play out.
if we need to have meetings on another night, we will.
Right.
This
So
one, Joe.
the way it works, the way it worked in the past, Eric, if there's something of real importance, then the town administrator will, our finance director will let us know, and then the chair will say, can we meet Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday?
You missed the good years, Eric, when we have 4 to 5 hour meetings twice a week. We couldn't get it done one night.
That's right. Yeah.
Just wanna make sure that's all.
I share your concern, there's a lot of budget stuff that come up.
Well, I'm thinking about.
We'll get it, we'll address every one of the lines in that form earlier.
That can't write a food.
Does John want?
John?
I am, whatever you guys want to do, I'll make myself available to get it done.
Okay.
You're making yourself unavailable, John.
consensus is that,
Thank you. That's all I have unless anyone has any questions for me.
are there any questions for Jeannie for us?
How is the tree coming on the island?
What tree?
The one that we were going to replace?
I had asked Bob Hardy, if you remember the board, I wanted to get a quote. He was going to give us a quote. I had asked him a while back for a quote, and given the COVID situation, didn't think that the town was going to be spending any money because remember that's when we were cutting back on everything. At this point in time, I think we wait till spring.
Is there anything else? The time being 6:36 PM, I'd like to make a motion to move into non-public. Nah, I don't. It's something I'd rather do, folks. And Chief, would you please talk about Halloween with us?
Sure.
Okay, I heard your report about what things you were doing and going to do and what have you. And Gail came up with some very nice prizes.
Wait, you guys are non-public?
No, I'm asking about the Halloween downtown.
Oh, okay. Before you go into non-publics, I don't have the information for that. I
Okay.
might, I just don't know. Just FYI.
Okay, well, we'll hook it up, and Ken looks like he's putting that together for you.
Thank you.
I'm scared of Halloween downtown. Adults who don't want to wear masks, spikes and hospitalization, 3 more people, older people, but I'm an older people and I'm supposed to judge the costume contest. I have concerns that this could be a spreading event. And what can you tell me that's gonna make me less nervous?
Sure. So obviously we're making it a mass mandatory event, and we told the officers to anyone that doesn't have a mask, ask them to put one on if they're going to stay present in the event. If they don't, we're going to make a decision that we may have to end it early, and we're going to let them know that, that finding him or her not wearing a mask, they could up to event in jeopardy, which would obviously be sad for the kids, but they're going to be trying to use diplomacy if that comes up. The kids that are coming down are usually small kids, elementary, middle school kids with their parents. For the most part, they stay in groups, and we're going to encourage that. We're going to keep the traffic off the sidewalks and onto the street so that they have more room to move up and down. And we're going to monitor social distancing and try to make sure that it's as safe as possible. It's going to kick off at 4. We think it'll be dark at 6, and as soon as it gets dark, people leave. So we already have officers on each end watching as people come in. If they see anyone approaching the event before they even cross that line, we're going to let them know they have to wear a mask, and we'll have some there if they forgot one to keep them on.
So the PD will be masked too, right?
Yes, we'll be masked as well.
I don't know if you saw the CDC today. They've got a report out on masks. They give a false sense of security. Just FYI.
I heard that somewhere.
I mean, if we're monitor, if it looks like it's getting too busy, we're just going to end it early for everyone's safety.
Okay.
You have prizes for businesses,
I
right?
do, and there's one more business that said they're going to give to me tonight. The other ones I have with me, so I'll leave them. And that one of the teachers at the middle school just teaches her classes doing the panels. And she said we could have them on Friday. So, yeah, I think we're ready.
You have to?
No, I swear I just saw something on my phone that came across. I can see where restaurants now are gonna require you to get contact information from patrons. And I'm nervous that we're gonna have all these people there and we have no idea of how to alert people to, if there turns out to be transmission for this event.
It's gonna be the same thing that's happening with the restaurants. News 9 will report that XYZ restaurant in this town had potential of COVID-19 on such and such a day. If you were there, you may want to get checked out. I'll have anyone at the Tilton trunk or treat on Halloween between 4 and 6:30. If you were there, you may need to go checked out.
But that's not how they're gonna be doing it, and I can't find the article now, but if the headline is correct, they're gonna be getting contact information from their patrons.
I
Yeah,
haven't heard anything like that coming down in the restaurant business yet.
well, that was like today. Eric's right. Northfield Tilton Talking, Kevin posted it there and probably the other local ones.
All I can say is they might as well shut the restaurant. How many people listening to my voice want to give their name, phone number, and address to the waitress? There you have it. Well, maybe your waitress.
For my eggs, yes.
Okay, well, that's neither here nor there. We're going forward. And I'm reluctant, but here we are. And happy Halloween, have some candy.
Thank you.
The time being,
Did you give John this information?
Yes.
Okay, good.
the time being 6:42 PM. I'd like to make a motion to move into non-public session for RSA 91-8, semicolon 3, paragraph 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against them, as well as RSA 91-8, semicolon 3, paragraph 2, I, an I, an L, a 1,
It was an aye.
an I. I'm going to go with I.
Yeah,
Consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel, either in written or orally, to one or more members of the public body, even where legal counsel is not present. We expect to be back into public session at approximately 8 PM. Do I have a second?
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
yeah, Jeannie has her hand up.
there's a correction. I'm looking at it. It is an aye.
Okay, so it's RSA 91-A, semicolon 3, paragraph 2L. In consideration of legal advice. We expect to be back into public session at approximately 8 PM. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, we have numerous seconds. Roll call vote. Constantino?
Constantino, yes.
Yes.
Setzman, yes.
Harvard, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We stand in non-public session.
This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Outstanding. Welcome back into public session. The time is 9:08. I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session of October 29th because the reasons justifying the need for the non-public session still remain. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen this evening? I just have one thing. Selectman Scanlon had left just a few moments ago. He wanted to say good night to him. There you go, John. Motion to adjourn. Non-debatable, all those in favor, say aye.